Greetings, welcome to 3 Lanes number 40. And to begin this one, I would like to add some stuff that I left out or corrections from the last episode. First one, I realized that the predictions I was giving, they're not so much predictions, but I want to self-correct myself here. Like if I had been listening to the podcast, which I did after, but that's technically what's currently happening with Dodge. So all the predictions, most of the predictions that I did last time, it's like, dude, you're just saying whatever it's already happening. So that's not much of a prediction. So I'll leave it with my prediction is that the Challenger will come back. The second correction that I wanted to add was the the statistic that I didn't give about the demographics of the Challenger, and it says here the most striking finding is that the Challenger buyers average 51 years old, making them the youngest buyers in the muscle car segment. So every or most of the new muscle cars that are being purchased are purchased with an average of the average age of a buyer is 51 years old. I thought it was interesting. That's the youngest. That's great. Isn't that crazy? Well, those are the two corrections that I wanted to leave with. And today, just to keep the rotation going, I would like to talk about, since we spoke about Japanese watches 2 episodes ago, this time I would like to keep it going and go with the brand, a brand that's kind of vintage way, because I only own vintage watches from this brand, and they're actually two watches. They belong to my grandfather, which those are near and dear to my heart. Or is dear and near? I don't know, but they're both near and dear to my heart. And these are from around 1970. One is an automatic, the other one's um, a quartz watch. But yeah, they both belong to my grandpa, and he left me the automatic. And it took me a while to get it fixed and get it going, but right now it works. It works perfectly fine. Shout out to World Time in San Jose that made it happen. And the other one never stopped because it was a quartz watch. But yeah, those are the two watches that when it comes to Citizen, those are the ones that I like the most, mainly because were inherited to me by my grandpa. But yes, today we'll be talking about the Citizen watch brand, how it was originated, and a brief history why it is or why it holds the place that it holds now in the watch world. What came first, Seiko or Citizen? We'll see all those things today. And to begin with, we can start with the roots. And the roots of Citizen were firmly planted in Japan in the early 20th century through industrialization efforts. The brand started in 1918 with the establishment of the Shokosha Watch Research Institute in Tokyo by Kamikichi Yamasaki. Mr. Yamasaki was a timepiece dealer who had toured Swiss and American manufacturing facilities and returned to Japan with the vision of creating a domestic produced Japanese watch. The first pocket watch that had the name tag Citizen was completed in December 1924. So some years after the the story of Citizen that began in 1918, in 1924, we have the first watch that bear that emblem in it on it. The brand name itself has an interesting origin story, and it was suggested by Count Shinpei Goto, who was Tokyo's mayor at the time and a close friend of Yamasaki. Mr. Goto chose the name Citizen with the hope that the watches would be forever loved by people everywhere and become accessible to just the basic or ordinary citizen around the world. In 1930, the company officially became Citizen Watch Company, marking the formal establishment of the brand as we know it today. The the transition involved a merger with Swiss watchmaker Rudolf Schmidt, and he had been operating in Yokohama since 1894. The company first wristwatch was produced in 1931, and it signaled the evolution from pocket watches to the more modern wrist-worn timepieces. The the peak of popularity and the quartz revolution, Citizen's peak period of influence, we can trace it back to 1970 when the company played a great role in the global quartz revolution. Seiko introduced the world's first quartz watch, the Astron, like we mentioned in the Japan episode. In December of 1969, Citizen quickly became a major force in quartz, and he developed a uh, mass production capabilities for quartz technology. During this transformative period, Citizen introduced several groundbreaking innovations. In 1970, the company released the world's first watch with a case made entirely of titanium. So if you like titanium watches, you owe it to Citizen, or at least to take the initiative on it. Showcasing this commitment to advanced materials, Citizen became relevant, or more relevant, better said. The brand also developed its own quartz movements and became one of the key Japanese manufacturers that would ultimately challenge the Swiss mechanical dominance at the moment. The quartz crisis of the 70s and early 80s reshaped the global watch industry for sure. Japanese companies like Citizen, Seiko, Casio embraced quartz, and many Swiss manufacturers initially didn't like it or didn't want to embrace the change. This period saw Citizen establish itself as a major global player, with the brand focused on accurate, affordable, and reliable timepieces, and this resonated with consumers everywhere in the world. Citizen's relevance 1970s to today. From the 1970 market position, Citizen was the forefront of horological innovation. The company quartz models were positioned as premium products, basically, and this reflected the cutting edge nature of the technology. These early quartz watches were built to the same standards as high end mechanical models, represented the pinnacle of watchmaking innovation at the time, right? At the time. Let's be clear with that. However, Citizen faced significant challenges in certain markets. A crucial limitation was the company's import export agreement with Bulova from the 1960s. And let me explain you a little bit more about that one. But this one prevented Citizen from directly entering the lucrative US market. This restriction lasted until the mid 70s, giving rival Seiko a substantial head start in America. It's a great disadvantage that would have, or that lasted. Um, no, sorry, it's a disadvantage that had lasting implications in specifically Citizen's brand recognition. But the whole thing with Bulova, it started because uh, they reached an agreement in March of 1960, and Bulova had interest in sourcing watches and movements from Citizen for Bulova's expanding product lines. So they wanted the affordable Caravelle line introduced in 1962, and at the time Bulova was a major force in the U.S. as a watch brand, and on the cusp of launching Accutron also. So the world's first electronic watch, the Accutron. But for Citizen, the partnership offered a significant boost to its overseas business, allowing it to provide parts and fully assembled watches to Bulova, and they would distribute it in the U.S. One key trigger for the agreement was Citizens' desire to increase exports and access to the U.S. market. So they had to, or they thought it would be better to do it like in an indirect way through Bulova. And Bulova was seeking reliable Japanese manufacturing partners to meet the growing demand for affordable quality watches. However, as part of the deal, Citizen agreed not to compete directly in the US market, leaving Bulova as Citizen's exclusive distributor there. This arrangement favored Bulova's market position but delayed Citizen's own entry into the US until the mid 70s, by which time Seiko had already established itself pretty well in America. This deal ultimately saw a lot of movements and watches from Citizen kind of being just rebranded into Bulova and being sold as Bulova watches, kind of like private label type of situation. You know, they just slap their name on it, meaning Bulova would slap their tag on the Citizen watches or Citizen movements cased in Bulova watches. Um, but this would happen through 1960s and the early 70s. If we go back to a regular timeline, the the current market position from 2024 or just 2024 2025 to give you a better idea. Uh, Citizen remains a substantial global watch manufacturer, and annual revenues are like 2.13 billion USD. The company actually reported net sales of 316.28 billion Japanese yen, and this is roughly translated to 2.1 billion USD in 2025. A net profit of 7.75%. The brand's financial performance shows steady growth, with net sales increasing 3.8% in recent periods. But Citizen current market strategy centers heavily on EcoDrive technology, introduced in 1976 and refined over the decades. As of 2023, EcoDrive watches accounted for approximately 40% of Citizen's total sales. This demonstrated the technology's continued relevance and consumer appeal, but the brand has successfully positioned itself as a leader in sustainable watchmaking with solar-powered timepieces that eliminated the need for battery replacement. Hence, EcoDrive, right? So we're talking about the same movement, EcoDrive. The company has also expanded its global footprint significantly through strategic acquisitions. In 2008, Citizen acquired American watch company Bulova. So they acquired the same Bulova in 2008. And since they've added other brands, including Le Jouperet and Arnold and Son, LJP, Le Jouperet, they provide a lot of movements to Swiss brands as of lately. Actually, I think Fears get some of the movements, the new movements from LJP, and you know they're competing pretty steadily with Salida. That's something that is pretty interesting to me. I think the Fears Brunswick, the new movement that's gonna be inside the case, is gonna be Le Jouperet. Before, I think it was I don't know if it was an Era. I think it might have been an Era. Well, Frederic Constant also belongs to Citizen, and this was acquired in 2016. This diversification strategy has strengthened Citizen position across different market segments. That's for sure. So it doesn't just target the lower segment of the price bracket of, well, let's call it the lower price bracket, the affordable bracket. That's what Citizen was targeting for, for as long as we remember. So adding these other brands like Frederic Constant and Arnold and Son, they might be able to target different price segments from the watch industry. I guess that's the hope, right? But I don't know how successful these two other brands are. Arnold and Son I've heard, Frederic Constant I've seen a lot, but again I don't know how successful either or are. So that's something to look into. Historical context and heritage, meaning Citizen versus Seiko. the brand perception and marketing positioning. On one hand, we have Seiko, which enjoys a significant heritage advantage, and it was founded in 1881, so it's almost 4 decades. 4 decades before Citizen was created in 1918. This head start allowed Seiko to establish deeper roots in both domestic and international markets. Seiko's early entry into the U.S. market, while Citizens was restricted by the Bulova Agreement, created lasting brand recognition advantages. Technology and movement philosophy. The two brands have pursued notably different technological philosophies. For example, Citizens' approach, heavy focus on quartz technology and solar power. Eco Drive, which represents 90% of Citizens' watch production. Emphasis on practical innovation and maintenance free ownership, and advanced features like atomic timekeeping and GPS synchronization. The atomic watch from Citizen, is it Citizen or Seiko? Never mind. Let's leave that for another time. I think it was a Seiko actually, atomic timekeeping watch. It's not that good looking. But Seiko's approach, balanced portfolio between mechanical and quartz movements, strong emphasis on mechanical watchmaking tradition, innovation like spring drive technology combining mechanical and quartz precision, and obviously Grand Seiko, which is the luxury line competing with Swiss brands. The brand perception and prestige. The watch community and collectors generally see Seiko as having a higher prestige, particularly due to several factors, right? Seiko's advantages. They have Grand Seiko, which is the luxury halo effect that elevates the entire brand of Seiko. Strong presence in mechanical watchmaking appeals to traditional collectors, so they do create their own movements, beginning from Grand Seiko, and then the Seiko divers. People always complain about those movements of being not that that precise compared to everything else, but those are the cheap ones that people buy. If you want to make your own dive watch, you usually procure a Seiko movement, right? Like what is it called? Private label Seiko movement, and then you can put in your case, your watch, and then that's it. You have a pretty reliable watch. Better resale value retention, and more iconic and recognizable designs like the Turtle or the SKX. Deeper collector community, enthusiast following. And on the other hand, we have Citizens market position, which is seen as more mainstream and practical. I think Citizen you can find more at a mall or stores like that. It has more collaboration with like pop culture stuff. Like I saw somebody with a Fantastic Four kind of Citizen watch. Cool, but I mean, it doesn't appeal to everybody, right? It might appeal to people that are looking to find something, or they're fans of the movie or stuff like that. But they also have larger actual sales volumes globally. They have superior solar technology than Seiko, 25 years ahead of Seiko, basically. Better value proposition for everyday users, and there's less prestigious but more accessible to general consumers. I guess the price bracket is less, especially as of the last, let's say, 5 to 10 years, where Seiko is trying to move up another price bracket, leaving Citizen on the same one for, below. Market dynamics and consumer base. Interestingly, there's a disconnect between enthusiast perception and mass market reality. And we have Seiko that enjoys high regard in watch collecting communities, but Citizen is actually the bigger brand in the real world. And they have overall higher sale volumes. This suggests that Citizen focus on practical, reliable, and affordable timepieces, and this resonates with the mainstream consumers. Maybe not the usual collector, but mainstream consumers look at Citizen before. Seiko's heritage and mechanical offerings appeal more to watch enthusiasts and collectors. The brand serve different consumer needs. Seiko attracts collectors, mechanical watch enthusiasts, like we said, and those seeking traditional craftsmanship with Japanese precision, for sure. Citizen, on the other hand, appeals to practical users, technology enthusiasts, and environmental conscious consumers who value low maintenance or ownership. The EcoDrive, man, that's the answer. It's that's not gonna fail soon, and you're probably not gonna have to give it maintenance uh, in a while. But yeah, compared to a Seiko, that by the time you have to send it to for service, you might be paying the same amount of money that you pay for the watch, if not more. So it depends, like how much you like your Seiko, or would you rather just I don't know, throw it away and get something new for like the same amount that you're gonna pay for service. That's something that people don't consider, and they might consider at the time of the service. Global market context. Both brands operate in global watch market value at approximately 77.4 or point 0.5 billion in 2024, with Japanese manufacturers maintaining strong positions despite Swiss luxury dominance. The Swiss are in a different segment, different price bracket for the most part. While Swiss brands, they capture the high-end luxury segments with an average export price, and this is what I'm talking about, of this is Swiss francs, by the way, 674 per watch. Japanese exports average only $133 per piece. So if we do, let me do this conversion. 674 CHF to USD. Man, can you just give me the answer? There we go. Oh, that's quite significant. So if we say 674, it's $845. So $845 average export price per watch for a Swiss watch, and Japanese exports average 133. That's, let's say that's $700 difference. This reflects their focus on accessible pricing and mass market appeal for the Japanese manufacturers. The Japanese domestic market itself was valued at 4.83 to 6.6 billion in 2024, with both Citizen and Seiko maintaining strong positions. However, Swiss brands still dominate global luxury perception, with the top four Swiss brands obviously Rolex, Cartier, Omega, and Patek Philippe. Those are the top four, accounting for over 50% of total luxury watch sales. Sorry. Yeah, it's quite a bit, huh? Well, to end this, we can say that, Citizen's journey from 1918 being the research institute that it was to a global watchmaking powerhouse uh, reflects Japanese industrial evolution. While the brand supposedly achieved its peak influence in the 1970s, and this because of the quartz revolution, I think it has adapted to a segment that they target, and I'm not saying just price segment, but the type of customer they're chasing after, which is the one that's probably interested in the EcoDrive technology. But comparing it to Seiko, can we say that it reveals two different approaches to Japanese watchmaking? I think yes. And is watchmaking, we it's debatable if we can call it excellent, but because some people are gonna point the little QC problems from Seiko, like misalignment of vessels and all that stuff. But Citizen's technology and their philosophy, compared to Seiko's heritage, conscious mechanical craftsmanship emphasis. So those are two different types of approach to uh, watchmaking. But Seiko might enjoy higher prestige among collectors, and then Citizen might be more successful with mainstream and technology innovation. This technology innovation I'll be interested to look more into later, because I think Seiko is not a slouch when it comes to technology innovation. I think they're kind of forward when it comes to that. I don't know how much Citizen has improved since the Echo Drive, right? Like, did they get stuck? Did Seiko take over? I don't know. But this position is, you could say it could be accurate for the most part, and it's yes, they're one of the world's largest watch manufacturers, and with those acquisitions that we spoke about, they're even bigger to my eyes now. But they serve millions of consumers who prioritize reliability, sustainability, and value over traditional luxury markets. And that's just to say Citizen, the brand Citizen, because I don't think Swiss brands would be buying Le Jouperet movements if they didn't believe that the traditional watchmaking was still there, right? So I mean, at the same time, it's part of Citizen, so it's not that it's completely dead. So there you have it. Here it is, the Citizen episode for today. We might look into technology evolution between the two brands later, but that's all I have for you today. Hopefully, you enjoyed the episode. Thanks for sticking to the end. Thanks for stopping by. See ya next time.